Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. It's a bit of a mammoth kitchen session. May or may not all get filmed. And there's still more, believe it or not. I had a good look through my notes and plants that need repotting. Now these are more up the emergency end because apart from one, they are new plants and I don't like what they're in. And in some cases there's no way I'm letting them go into the winter in what they're in. And I've lost more plants by leaving them in the pot worried about repotting them than I have just getting on with it. So this is the getting on with it bit. So this is the what and the why. I worry about what they're going to go in or on later. I don't know what sort of butchery I need to do. So I've got both pairs of scissors out and the secateurs. They're both in what you call it at the moment, and what I'm going to do is rotate the scissors if I need them, so we'll have one out airing off while the other one's in to soak, because it's the drying effect that kills stuff apparently. Right, so let's get them out of my thing and then we'll pull them back in and have a chat about them. Actually, I'll do it the other way around. And I'm taking advantage of the moment. I've got no watering to do today. I was up quite early. I've done all my computer stuff. I've got a loaf baking at the moment, so out in the kitchen is a wonderful bread aroma, fresh bread. And I thought, well, let's get out in the kitchen and do something and take full advantage of it. So that's why I'm out here, early in the day, relatively early in the day. Right, this is a no-tag Dendrobium, I believe is a Latoria type, and this is in moss, and there's no way a Latoria type is going into the winter in moss, so that's why that's out here. It'll just stay too wet basically, and I can't control it properly. Now this is one of mine that was in flower not that long ago. This is Miltonia Summer Glory. And both of the new growths are on the edge of the pot, and already you can see some failure of roots. Yeah, this is what happens when you start getting aerial roots. Now it does look like there are a lot of roots in the pot. They're all off of this new area, not off the back. Yeah, so chances are that will probably get split. I'd like to keep it as a single plant, and if I can I will. But I don't want it in a giant pot either. So that's getting done because it's been in the pot too long. It's my media, it's my plant, and it's coming to that point where, you know, it's been in there too long. And leaving it till spring will mean it's definitely been in there too long. You just don't want to stand up, do you? Right, go up there. Right, as I said, these are relatively new plants, so they're all in something other than what I put them in. Now this is the Cambria or Oncidium Irish Mist, and it says turn over. Odontodia Yellow Parade. Somebody else's idea that was, although I don't think that's strictly speaking right. I'm sticking with Irish Mist, I expect. Look at two tags in there. Now this is in the cocoa peat stuff. There are some roots failed already. It's a giant of a plant, and it currently has a massive new growth, which is, yes, what can we do for you too? Which is currently just starting new roots, so perfect timing on that one. Plus what I don't like is in the dish I keep getting bits. Yeah? Which implies there's something in the pot chewing stuff. It's not always true, but it has been known. So I'm going to have to go careful where I put these plants, because obviously the oven up here cooking my loaf is very hot. We don't want plants actually touching it. I might have to put them somewhere else in a minute. Actually, they can go back in here. Right, this is a Miltoniopsis. Yes, it's still in bloom, but the blooms are on their way out. And quite honestly, I suspect when I get that out of here, it will have zero roots. You can see the latest growth here that's blooming. Yeah, there is a tiny little start of a new growth down here. That looks very weak. But you can see the roots here are not good, and those are the new ones. But we may have some salvageable roots there. If I leave it much longer, we won't. So you're going to have to go that way this time, running out of space. Only 2 more. Right, this again, this is a Phalaenopsis type Dendrobium, and it's another one that shouldn't really get cold in the winter. It should stay warmer than it's going to, and as such I don't want it staying wet, and it's in cocoa peat, which it will just stay too wet for too long for the temperatures it's going to have to put up with. Now again, these blooms are on their way out. They haven't actually finished, and there's one that hasn't opened. But I need this done. I don't want to be doing this in the middle of December. So I'm just going to get on and do that, and I will sacrifice those blooms on the grounds. We will get nice ones next time. Now the Nellie Isla, same reason, not a strong rooter, and can be difficult to grow. Some people do have trouble, including me, keeping these going. And sometimes they take off and they seem to be doing really well, and they bloom and then they just keel over. I don't know. A lot of it's to do with the odontoglossum in there. Makes it a cooler grower. Now this, as if you remember, is actually 2 plants, because we had 2 spikes and they were different blooms. They were not the same bloom. So I know I've got 2 different types of Nellie Isla. The one that I bought and another one. So I'll have to keep these 2 separate. They'll have to be potted separately. Might try Nellie Isla on a mount. It's a typical Oncidium as far as its growth is concerned. But anyway, again, I don't like the look of the media. There's no way I'm going to lift it out unless I'm over my tray. So those are the 6 I've got. That is not all of the ones for repotting, but it's the ones I'm going to do in this session. And I will probably film the potting or repotting part of those that are different. So if I'm going to do 2 or 3 plants in the same media in exactly the same way, I'll just film one of them. It just goes on too long otherwise. So first job then is that's the what we're doing and the why we're doing it. Now relatively quickly we'll do the what's in my pot and at least get them into the sink ready for washing off. And I've got some more hydrogen peroxide, so they can all have a go with that. Again, it's, you know, they've come in from somewhere else, no guarantee. Now hang on, I want to keep that spike on there so that I know which one is which, because these are 2 separate plants, and the one that's still got the bloom on it is not the one I bought. That's the other one. So when this comes out, it will be 2 plants, one of which is probably just going to have 1 bulb on it. So it was the red velvet that I bought. And I suspect we'll have next to nothing. Yeah, typical. Lots of stones in here for aeration. But we don't have a good root system. We've got some roots, it's not a miserable failure. We do have a large lump of moss in the middle, guaranteed to take that section of the roots down. If not now, it will do soon. The trouble, you enclose the sphagnum plug when you pot on at your peril, because basically it's already probably old enough that it's starting to go down. Yeah, and now you've just enclosed it in another media for another period of time. You're just asking for trouble, quite honestly. But do you know what, this does actually look as though it's joined. It can't be. Now I'm going to go for the split there. Yeah, it's just roots. So the one that's got the bloom on has got next to no roots, and is a single bulb with a bloom on. That's not a good thing to sell, really, but that's what I got. And then this one, which is the one I bought, the red velvet, has 2 bulbs joined together. They are joined, so they do have a rhizome, and the roots on here aren't that bad. That one will pick up quite quickly, I suspect. That's not a bad root system. Seen a lot worse. So that's the 2 Nellie Islas. The one with the bloom on is the one that I didn't plan on. So There's one. You can't see anything in there that was chewing stuff. But it would probably be in the middle of there somewhere. I'm not going hunting the bug. I've got better things to do at the moment. Bug hunting. What? What do you want? Oh, hang on. Cats want feeding. That's Mojo. If his dish is empty, he will fuss and annoy. And if he gets really annoyed because you take no notice of him, he will attempt to climb up your leg with his adult cat claws, which are like flipping razor blades. You shred your leg. And he's just basically saying, you're not taking any notice of me, are you? So that's what he does. Yeah, I'm going to sacrifice the blooms on here. I'm not going to attempt to keep them. Oh, ow! I forgot my thumb. Well, I haven't cut anything on the plant yet, so I don't have to change scissors or anything. I'm only taking clips off, getting stakes out. Yes, my thumb now, when it does its trigger bit and it clicks, I can't actually say anymore that that is pain. It's not a nice feeling. This is the way I'm going to describe it now. It's not actually pain anymore. I just try and keep it straight so that it doesn't do it, because it's just like, ugh, that's not nice. Oh, that's just in peat. Look at it. Dear, oh dear. How many roots we're going to salvage here? Ah, and inside the plug here is pieces of coconut. Actual solid piece. So I suspect any roots that are inside of there have already gone. That's unusual. I haven't seen that arrangement before, I must admit. I have had cattleyas which have got pieces of coconut with the roots sandwiched on the inside, and the trouble is the roots do manage to force their way through and get totally tangled up, and you end up ruining them. This isn't quite so bad, and it's in sections, so the sections are pulling out. You can see they're coming out in like slices. That's not too bad, and there are some good roots inside, and the coconut is not totally ruining everything. That's salvageable. That's not a bad root system at all. And you often get this when you get stuff in, you know, I mean, this is actually peat. This is more of a soil, this is a soil type of compost. It's supposed to be used on plants like this. In a hot place, you know, where that's going to dry really quickly, you probably get away with it, which is probably where it was grown, somewhere out in the Far East where it's hot. And you can get away with chucking water on that medium, but you won't get away with it here in the winter time. No way. Right, that's not a bad root system. There'll be a little bit more of that cocoa husk to peel out as I get this under the sink and rinse it, but not much. And if what's in there had to stay, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but we have got some nice fleshy roots. So that should pick up again quite quickly, that one. I might even leave that spike on. I'll see how I go. Been grown on from a young plant, seedling. You can see the tiny little bulbs gradually getting bigger and bigger, up to the big fat one that's actually bloomed. No sign of any new growths at this point. I don't know though, that could be a new growth there. If it isn't, I don't know what it is. Anyway, that's that one. Oh, we're not doing a bug hunt, are we? We've already decided we're not hunting bugs today. Right, that's that one. Now there's my one here. As I said, this is so this is in a media that I did, and it's just grown to the edge of the pot. It can't stay there on the grounds that, you know, there won't be any room for the next growth. They'll be hanging over the edge of the pot, and as such their roots will go aerial, which is not ideal. And being a Miltonia, a lot of my Miltonias, in fact most of my Miltonias, are mounted, and since I started doing that they've been doing very well, thank you very much. So that might be where this goes. Let's certainly chuck roots out this one. which is, this is in bark, so and it won't have a plug in it because it was me who potted it. So this is just a matter of teasing out the bark as best I can. Well, what we got here is the old roots that branched out and moved to the edge of the pot and left the old roots behind, which have died back. So all the good roots are on the edge of the plant. And we've got an old pseudo-bulb there that's serving no purpose, so that can come off. Ow! We have now cut a plant, so we will have to change scissors. The rhizome looks okay. Is it worth leaving that little one on? Do you know what? I'm going to leave this as a single plant, as is. And we'll use the, you know, how to turn a deep pot into a shallow pot technique for that one, whereby the plant will just be much lower in the pot, meaning that there's far less media in the pot and it ends up looking or feeling like a shallow pot. It's either that or I'll mount it, one or the other. But if I mount that, it's going to prove difficult to get that on the mount. These two growth areas where the next new growths are going to come out will be away from the mount and the roots will still go aerial, so it would serve no purpose. Ow! No sign of new growths on there yet, but then it's only just finished blooming, literally. One new growth just showing there, and the other one is just there. Those are effectively the eyes. They're not really new growth yet because they haven't kicked off. The plant's got to register that its blooms have gone, and then those will come into growth. So that's that one. So that will go in a pot. Oh, that bread smells gorgeous. Coming up. Yes, this one's got bits in the bottom as well, as though there's something in there feeding. And again, this is a hell of a big plant. This pseudo-bulb on here is absolutely enormous. I can't see anything that could be classed as feeding. But, so what have we got here then? This is a mix. This is a peaty based compost with some chunks of bark in, for some odd reason. See what you're hoping to achieve. Better to just use bark or the coconut husk or something other than a sort of peat mix. Alright, so that's just a clump of dead roots there. Let's get my second pair of scissors out. Put the first pair back into soak. So we have actually cut into a plant now, so quite handy having two pairs of scissors if you do things like this and do lots of plants all at the same time. It saves waiting around. Right, what we've got here are some pretty good roots and new roots just starting under the new growth. That's the important bit. So I can trim off these sticky out dead bits, they don't look too elegant. Tidy the plant up a bit so anything pointing upwards can come off. And down below ground, this whole section here is effectively dead. But there are some live roots around the back. It's just that lump there. So if we take that off, then we can see what we're doing. Ow. Two-handed job. Oh, that was a rhizome there, so that's why that was a solid lump, an old part of the plant. And a solid bit there. And now we can see what we're doing. And most of these roots, it's just these dead bits that went aerial, they serve no purpose and just make the plant look untidy. So they can always come off. near the base. Just take them off. Dead bits. Yeah, as I say, they just make the plant look untidy. Some people quite like the idea of those roots like that. I mean, that's probably what something like this would look like in the wild. The difference is the roots get rained on far more frequently than we do. We don't tend to water those aerial roots. If we did, they'd probably stay alive. Right, that'll do. We'll have that one off, pointing upwards. So we've got some roots here that will help keep this plant hydrated and stop it shrivelling until the new root system comes out of this latest growth. Now, if I can grow that as big as the one it's coming out of, I will be over the moon. But I doubt it. I suspect it will be not quite as big. But I'm maintaining the whole plant here, am I? No, that bulb's going to have to come off. It's rotted at the base anyway. That's what happens with this peaty stuff. It stays wet too long. If it dries fast, you're okay. Now in theory I could possibly try growing that on, but no. So now we've got two nice big support bulbs and a new growth. There's oodles of energy in that. So even if the new roots are slow to grow, it'll survive on its resources quite happily. Right. So again, we cut into a plant, so we change scissors over. Finish our coffee. We've got any, not too much peat in there. Now this one is getting repotted because I don't want it to stay in this media when it gets cold. It is a good root system and I'd like to keep it that way. Now I might not be able to do much with this, it might have to all be done under the tap because it's basically solid moss. Sometimes you can tease up through the middle there, and sometimes even though it's in moss, as you go up through the middle you still find a moss plug. Like the old bit before it was potted on. But this is actually quite a good root system on here, and I'd certainly like to keep it that way. Yeah, there's not too many roots in the centre here. They've all pushed their way out to the edge, which is good because that means they'll survive. Yeah, this needs to be done under the tap. It's a good root system, and these are all nice fleshy roots. They'll take quite quickly. Branching root system as well, so that should pick up nicely. That's been grown on again from a seedling, tiny little pseudo. Ah, we do have a new growth. Yay! Jolly good. And with the new growth coming, we should get some more new roots in the not too distant future. Should these decide to give up the ghost because they got annoyed about being disturbed. Although this is a dendrobium, they tend to behave themselves. There are some types of plants that really object to root disturbance, and they just decide, well, instead of living and surviving, I'm just going to throw all my roots away so that I die. You know, that's a very sensible survival technique. Anyway, we've got some active root tips, we've got some good roots here. This should rinse out quite easily under the tap. It's not too solid, not too compacted, but it is quite compact. I would never pack moss in that type. But there again, that's probably been imported from the Far East, you know, where it's hot. So that would dry quickly. Right, so that's everything out of the pot. It's the messy bit. And then the next messy bit is the washing under the sink, which I don't film because I can't get the camera there any sense. And the next part of the video, part 2, there may be a part 3. Oh, we missed one. That's because I put it in the wrong place, didn't I? I moved it the other way. Now this is the Miltoniopsis. Chances of having a good root system on this, I would suspect, are 0. Again, it's just solid peat. Not ideal. What have we got there? Oh, not only is it peat, the look, you can even see the shape of the flower pot that it was in before. So somebody's just taken that out and plonked it in another pot. And inside that peat is a moss plug. It gets worse. These are difficult enough to flip and keep going without taking away all their chances. Well, we have got some roots, I suppose. It's not a good root system, not really. We've got 2 plants. Just as always the way nowadays. So instead of thinking you've got one nice big strong plant, you've got 2. What have we got then? Here we've got sign of a new growth there. There's enough plant there to actually keep and grow. When that's rinsed off, it's got some roots. Most of these roots have gone, yeah, but it's got a new growth about to grow, and there's a couple of new roots. That's just about enough to survive, but only just, and it may still not make it. Difficult to tell, not in a good way. This bit I'm hoping is a bit better. It's a larger piece. We've got this funny little new growth down here, which may or may not carry on. It's not good, is it? Well, when it's all washed off and cleaned, bearing in mind that you can get confused when you're dealing with, that's not connected. It just as well come off, hadn't it? It was, but it was starting to rot. It's just too wet. Look, the base of the pseudobulbs just falling apart. Too wet. Well, these don't like drying out, but soggy is not what they like. Right, so we will give that a clean off and decide what to do with it. I've never mounted a Miltoniopsis. The trouble is the way my mounts get watered. Do you know what I'm going to do? Because that's a healthy looking bulb and there are some roots on it, I'm going to put that in with the other little piece. So we'll have 2. We'll keep that going. So the blooms are attractive, so we'll put those 2 pieces in one pot and then the larger piece with the larger pseudobulbs separately. And we'll see how we get on. And we're not keeping that spike, that's for sure. It'll have enough trouble getting going again without having to support a spike. Yeah, get all this muck off the base of the pseudobulbs washed off so that it can't hold moisture around the base. I know that hurt. So we've got a new growth possibly coming there, and this funny little one round here. So that could start growing again soon. So there we go then. Ow, that actually hurt that time. That's the mess done. More clearing up to do. And as I said, I'll when I've got everything washed off and I've thought about what I'm going to do with each particular plant, I may divide it up into 2 potting up or potting and mounting videos and just do them separately and hold them back so that I've got, like, days when I either can't film or can't be bothered to film, they end up the same. From your end they look the same. I'll have a spare video or 2 to be able to just load up. So we'll see how we go. So that's what we did and what plants we unpotted and why, and that's not it. There are still more plants to do this with. But not so many now, and these were the ones I was most worried about leaving any longer. So there we go, and I'll see you next time in the potting them up or mounting them or whatever I decide to do. But there will be different media, different size pots to think about. Some will get potted right down low in the pot so that they've got a shallow root run. There'll be some differences. They're not all just going to go in the same stuff in the same pot, so it's not that much repetition. And I'll separate them out probably. Right, see you next time. Bye for now.